everyone. On a recent monthly Q&A with James Check, who goes by Checkmate on Twitter, he's my favorite Bitcoin analyst. I read his stuff before I read anything else. So if an email update from him hits, which is typically probably 3 times a week, I read it literally before I read any other Bitcoin content. So I asked him a question on there in the comments after it. I asked him, okay, I told him, I'm onboarding a lot of people to Bitcoin regularly. And if people are buying their first significant amount of Bitcoin, do you recommend one, putting all of their money in up front, or two, putting half of what they plan to put in up front and the rest over some period of time, or three, what's called dollar cost averaging or recurring buys, which is put the entire amount over some, weekly period. He said if somebody is completely new to markets and just doesn't understand markets at all, he recommends they divide it into 8 pieces and do it 1/8 over the course of 8 weeks. And the reason for that, he did not give the reason. I just know the reason. The reason for that is if people don't understand markets and they don't understand how prices move, they freak out when they put in a significant amount up front because then the price goes up and down. And they freak out when it goes down because inevitably prices go up and down. They just go up and down on their way up. So if you divide it into 8 pieces and you do 1/8 a week, then obviously after your very first purchase, you only have 1/8 of your money in. And that way, if the price goes down, you're not freaking out because most of your money still has to be put in. Now, he said if somebody is familiar with how markets work, they're accustomed to the fact that any financial instrument you own goes up and down in value, then he would recommend they put half of what the amount they're planning to put in up front and put the remaining half, so the remaining 50%, divide that into 8 pieces and put that in once a week over the course of 8 weeks. In all situations, I think what he's going for here is getting your money in the market as fast as possible without you having the regrets of buying at a high price. And since nobody knows what a high price or a low price is, a lot of people just can't handle the psychological hit of putting money into Bitcoin and then seeing the price spend any significant amount of time below the price they paid for it. Now, my recommendation when people ask me this, I'm like, just look, take however much you're going to buy Bitcoin and just buy it. Like, just buy it. And the reason is it's very hard to figure out if you don't just buy it, how long of a period to do what's called dollar cost averaging, which is a recurring buy over some period of time. James Check says 8 weeks is the right number right now at this point in the cycle of the ups and downs of Bitcoin. But again, I'm not a technical analyst and I don't have the ability to check with him every 5 minutes and say, what about now? What about now? What about now? What about now? And my guess is over time, it would be 10 weeks. It would be 8 weeks. It would be 6 weeks. It would be 12 weeks. Anyway, so my recommendation stays the same, which is if you got money, you're going to put in Bitcoin, just stick it in Bitcoin. But if you want the number one Bitcoin analyst in the entire world, if you want his opinion, and if you want that opinion calibrated to exactly where we are right now, as of Monday, June 30th, the exact time we are right now at a price of 107,400, 107.4. His recommendation right now is if you don't understand markets and you're not accustomed to things going up and down, divide it in 8 pieces, put it into, 1/8 per week across 8 weeks. And if you do that on River, you get 0 fees for the 7 out of the 8. So if you do recurring buys on River, when you set it up, you have to pay a fee for your first buy, but they have no fees on recurring buys after the first week. So if you set up a weekly buy, you pay fees on the first 1/8 of the purchase, but not on the remainder of it if you do it that way on River. But again, James Check is saying if you do understand markets and you're not going to, freak out and have lots of heartburn if the price trades down after you buy, half of your amount up front, then he says it's better buy half of the amount you have and spread the remaining half over 8 weeks. And again, you can do the same thing on River, which is recurring buys over the course of 8 weeks. And you only pay, excuse me, you only pay fees on the first of those recurring buys because after the first week, it's no fees on recurring buys. So anyway, that's James Check's recommendation. Wanted to give you the heads up since he answered my question, and that is his recommendation. My recommendation stays the same, which is if you're going to buy Bitcoin, just buy Bitcoin. Because to me, it's just too hard to, have a little bit over 8 weeks. Plus, I don't want money that could be in Bitcoin sitting there not in Bitcoin for 8 weeks. Like, I mean, if you spread it, I guess technically, if you spread it in eight, weekly increments, that's technically done over 7 weeks. Because obviously there's a buy on either side of 7 weeks for a total of eight buys spread across 7 weeks. Um, Regardless, I don't want any money not in Bitcoin that could be in Bitcoin, even if it's only the 7 weeks the 7 weeks in between eight total buys. I don't even want anything not in Bitcoin, even for 7 weeks. But wanted to pass that along because James Check is the number one Bitcoin analyst in the world. He tends to be right on stuff, and I really like him, and he's very down to earth, and he's very, he shoots straight. I subscribe, which is $29 a month, to his newsletter, which is, probably three updates a week or something like that. It's a great way of feeling like you're not flying blind. Everything that happens in Bitcoin, you get a really solid commentary on, hey, here's what just happened, here's why it happened, and here's what to expect, and here's what could happen based on different variables. I just really like his stuff. So anyway, to summarize, he's saying, if you're new to Bitcoin, you don't understand markets, divide whatever you're going to invest right now into eight increments and put it in across 8 weeks. And if you understand markets, put half your money up front and the other half spread across 8 weeks. And I'm telling you, the easiest thing, which is what I always do, is if I'm going to buy Bitcoin and I've decided I'm going to, and I have the capital to do it, I just buy it. It's that simple. I just buy it. And that's worked for me for many years.